According to a study published in the journal Psychology, there's a specific type of touch that, according to psychology, can increase a woman's sense of emotional connection by up to 67%. And no, it's not what you're probably imagining. In fact, most men completely overlook it, which is why so many mature women lose interest after just a few dates. Today, I'll explain exactly what these 7 touches are from my perspective as a woman. And number 7 is the one that melts us the most, even if we don't intend to. Before you go any further, you need to understand one crucial thing. A mature woman doesn't fall in love with your words. She falls in love with how you make her feel. Much of what we feel can't be expressed in words. We communicate through physical contact, but be warned, not all touch is created equal. There's a huge difference between a touch that arouses desire and one that instantly repulses you. And this difference has nothing to do with strength or the exact location. It comes down to something much more subtle, something most men have never even considered. I'm telling you this as a woman who has discussed this with friends and psychologists, and who has personally experienced many moments when a simple touch, at the right time and place, completely transformed my feelings for someone. There's one fact I find particularly insightful. Dr. Tiffany Field, director of the Touch Research Institute at the University of Miami, has spent over 30 years studying the effects of physical contact on human emotions. Her research shows that the right kind of touch releases oxytocin, lowers cortisol, and activates the same brain regions that are active in the early stages of falling in love. In other words, you can chemically induce the feeling of love with your hands. But here's the crux of the matter, and this is what distinguishes men who can make us fall in love from those who repel us. Not all touches have the same effect, and with a mature woman, someone experienced, someone who knows what she wants and what she won't accept, almost surgical precision is required. So stay with me until the end, because each of these 7 touches serves a different psychological purpose, and when you use them in the right order, you'll create something she simply won't be able to ignore. One quick warning. Touch number 7 is so powerful that it should only be used after a certain level of trust has been established. If you use it too soon, the effect will completely reverse, but we'll get to that. Let's start with something that seems simple but has a very powerful psychological impact. A touch on the shoulder. And I don't mean a simple pat, as if she were your teammate. I mean a gentle, brief touch that naturally accompanies what you're saying. For example, you're talking to her, laughing, or sharing a moment of understanding, and you gently place your hand on her shoulder for just 2 or 3 seconds. That's it. It may seem trivial, but what happens neurologically is fascinating. A 2015 study at the University of Oxford found that casual physical contact in socially acceptable areas, like the shoulder, activates the brain's reward system, the same system that responds when you eat your favorite food or receive an unexpected compliment. The brain registers pleasure and automatically connects it with the person who caused it. With a mature woman, this works even more effectively, and that's why an experienced woman constantly assesses whether a man is sincere or just faking it. A touch on the arm feels so natural and spontaneous that it breaks through her barriers. She doesn't perceive it as a sexual gesture. She perceives it as closeness and trust, as if there's a deeper bond between you. I've had friends who say, "I don't know what it is about him, but I feel so comfortable around him." And when we looked closer, the same pattern always emerged. Subtle physical contact, beginning with a simple touch on the shoulder, which quietly told her subconscious, "This man feels safe." But there's one rule you can't break. It has to be short. If you hold your hand too long, comfort turns to discomfort. 2 or 3 seconds, and then we pull away and continue talking as if nothing had happened. This naturalness is what makes it so effective. Another of my favorite gestures, because the psychology behind it is incredibly interesting, touching the lower back, just above the hip. It's one of the most powerful gestures in romantic body language and has a biological basis. The lower back is an area almost no one touches unless intimacy is involved. Think about it. Friends don't touch you there. Your boss doesn't, and your acquaintances don't either. So when someone places their hand there, The brain automatically classifies that person as someone close and creates an emotional shortcut. Researcher Alisa Host, analyzing body language, noticed that when a man gently leads a woman by placing his hand on her lower back, for example, when entering a restaurant or crossing the street, she feels both protection and desire. This sends two powerful signals at once. This man cares about me, and this man wants me. And this connection is incredibly powerful for a mature woman. However, timing is crucial. You can't do this in the first few minutes of a meeting. It works once you've built a closer relationship, usually on the second or third date, when you're going out together and there's a natural reason to lead her. Let me share something personal. I vividly remember the first time a man did this to me perfectly. We were leaving a cafe, it was crowded, and he simply placed his hand on my lower back to guide me to the door. Without words, without comment, natural and effortless. I thought about that moment for days. That 3-second gesture stayed with me for a whole week. But if you do it awkwardly, too low or too hard, the effect disappears immediately. Subtlety is key, and now it gets even more interesting. This touch has a psychological effect that science has well documented. When you place your hand on a woman's, especially in a moment of emotion or during an intimate conversation, you activate what neuroscientists call interpersonal synchrony. Research from a scientific institute in Israel has shown that hand-to-hand contact can synchronize the brain activity of two people. Their minds begin to work on the same frequency. In a mature woman, this is felt even more strongly. An experienced woman can easily distinguish a man who truly listens from one who is just pretending. When she shares something important, painful, or personal, and instead of interrupting or offering advice, you simply place your hand on hers, hold it, and look into her eyes. You are communicating something that words cannot express. You are saying, "I am here with you." I've seen men ruin such moments by talking too much. She would open up, and they would launch into a long explanation or offer advice. That's a mistake. She needed a sense of support, and a simple touch of the hand at the right moment provides just that. Timing is key. Not during a joke, not during an argument. Do it when she's lowering her guard, when she's showing vulnerability, when her eyes say she needs someone. Now let's talk about a touch that many men do incorrectly, but when done correctly is incredibly effective. The knee touch. This touch perfectly combines casualness with intimacy. It's not as innocent as a touch on the shoulder, but also not as explicit as a touch on the lower back. It's in that gray area that naturally attracts attention, and properly directed attention increases attraction. Psychologist Monica Moore of Webster University studied nonverbal flirtatious behavior and found that interactions involving touch on intermediate areas, such as the knees, led to a significantly higher level of mutual attraction. What makes this interesting in a mature woman is that she is fully aware that this is not a coincidence. She knows there's intention behind it, and that's not a problem. She doesn't value the lack of intention, but the way it's expressed. Imagine you're sitting next to each other on a couch, a bench, or at a bar. The conversation flows, laughter rings out, and there's that electric connection. And in that moment, your hand briefly touches her knee as you say something joking, and then you calmly and naturally withdraw it. With this gesture, you set the tone. You demonstrate boldness without disrespect, and confidence without imposing. For a mature woman, this is a sign of emotional intelligence, which is incredibly attractive. Most men go to extremes, either too shy or too aggressive. The one who understands the pace is the man she can't stop thinking about. I mentioned earlier that another element disarms us the most. For most women, hair is something very personal. It's an extension of our identity, the time, effort, and care we put into it. When a man touches our hair, he's not just touching our hair, he's touching something personal. Research published in the journal Human Nature has shown that caressing behaviors, such as touching a partner's hair, are strongly linked to the formation of long-lasting emotional bonds, not only in humans, but also in primates. This is something deeply rooted in biology. For a mature woman, however, it's a double-edged sword. At the wrong moment, it feels invasive. At the right moment, it creates immediate intimacy. The right moment is when there's a clear emotional connection, when she's laughing sincerely, when her gaze lingers, when the conversation reaches a point where words are no longer necessary. Then gently brush a strand of hair away from her face, or lightly run your fingers through it, saying something gentle. I'll be honest, when a guy does it right, my mind calms down for a few seconds. Everything else disappears, and only that feeling remains. And when I snap back to reality, my first thought is, this guy is different, because few men can do something so intimate with such care. But context is everything. Too soon, and it creates discomfort. At the right moment, it creates something almost addictive. Now let's move on to the sixth touch, the one that lays the foundation for everything else, the extended hug. And by extended, I don't mean awkwardly long. I mean a hug that lasts 5 to 8 seconds longer than a regular hug. The research of Dr. Tina Light from the University of North Carolina is very powerful on this matter. Hugs lasting longer than 20 seconds cause a significant release of oxytocin, lower blood pressure, and reduce cortisol levels. Simply put, a long hug makes me feel calmer, safer, and more connected to you. It's not an opinion, it's biology. For a mature woman, this has an added dimension. Many of us carry emotional armor from disappointments and difficult relationships. A well-placed long hug can gently break through this armor, not with force, but with warmth. The best moment is at the end of a good date. Instead of a quick hug, you hold her for a moment longer. Without words, without movement, you simply are. Then we pull away, you look into her eyes, and smile. She'll think about it later. In a world that's rushed and superficial, a man who takes the time to truly embrace her stands out. And now we come to touch number 7, the one I told you to wait for, the strongest of all. It's one of the most intimate gestures imaginable, beyond something overtly sexual. I'm talking about the neck. The neck is one of the most sensitive parts of the body. Exposing it is a biological signal of trust. By touching a woman's neck, you're entering a space she only shares with someone she feels truly safe with. Neuroscience confirms this. The neck is rich in nerve endings connected to the vagus nerve, which plays a key role in the parasympathetic nervous system. Gentle stimulation creates a unique combination of deep relaxation and intense emotionality. The way you do it is crucial. It's not about grasping, but about subtlety. A light brush of your fingers along the nape of her neck during a first kiss. A gentle swipe from her cheek down to her neck during an intimate moment, or a gentle brush of her hair and a gentle touch. This type of touch conveys desire without pressure, and confidence without arrogance. For a mature woman, it can be the difference between "I like him" and "I'm falling in love with him." But I'll repeat the warning. It only works when trust is already established. Too soon, and instead of attraction, it will create discomfort. Time is of the essence. First the shoulder, then the back, the hand, the knee, the hair, the embrace, and finally the neck. It's a progression. Skip steps and you'll lose everything. Now that you know these 7 rules, I want to leave you with something more important than the technique itself. These touches are just tools. In the hands of someone who isn't sincerely interested, they become manipulation, and mature women sense this immediately. These gestures only work when they stem from genuine interest, respect, and genuine attention to who she is, not just what you want from her. When this is present, these touches become a bridge between what you feel and what she experiences, and such a true connection leads to deep love. Women's psychology isn't an insoluble puzzle. It's a language. And today, you learned 7 key words of this language. If you found this valuable, do something for yourself. Think about the woman you're interested in, the one who likely brought you to this video. The next step is not just learning how to touch her, but understanding how her mind works as a whole, because touch is just one element. In the video you're watching, you'll discover a much deeper insight into female psychology, beyond what we've discussed today. Leaving without watching it would be like learning how to start a car, but not how to drive. You have the tools, but not the whole system. Click now because what you'll learn will completely change your approach to the women who truly matter to you. See you in the next one. Yeah.